It was an indie game inside a multi-million-dollar project. Back in the day, so it was a game called World at War. And in World at War, we had a series of designers who found an animation. They found one of these animations which was of soldiers burning, interestingly enough. And they found it, and the movement was particularly interesting. It was this kind of, but without the sound, right? And hooked it up to our traversal system, which basically does kind of getting over walls and climbing through windows. And then each department over at Treyarch started to kind of give time to this kind of little pet project. So the sound department gave the sound, that thing came along, got hooked up. Character department said, well, I could make you a rotting flesh head, and we could attach that in there. And it kind of came together piece by piece. And I remember the buzz around the studio. And I remember lunch break used to come, and you walk through Treyarch, it's a very it's a big building, and you could just see it on everyone's screens, and there was multiple projects going on in the studio at that time, and you'd see people getting it and playing it. And then very quickly on, it was realized, it's like, oh crap, we're going to have to tell Activision about this, because we're making this huge game, a very serious game as well, about historical ideas, and we've gone off and made this kind of zombie mode. And so the guys would come over, one at a time from the executive level at Activision, and play it in this little room. We didn't tell anyone else about it. And they really enjoyed it. But we knew we really had a hit when we started seeing emails coming back from Activision saying things like, I made it to level 4, I made it to level 6. And they started competing with each other. And so it was like, great, awesome. So the deal was that we couldn't talk about it. We weren't going to market it, right? And we'd put it when you completed the campaign, and we'd kind of unlock it at the end. And when it got out there, people loved it so much, got so excited by it, that we actually had to do a title update. We actually had to title update and put it from the end of the campaign, actually put it on the front menu so people could launch it. And people kind of forget now, but that first experience didn't have any voices. There was no overt narrative in it. It was made out of the spare bits, and the fans really kind of embraced it and ran with it. And that's really what's given it its spirit and its vibe. Not only outside in the community, but also inside in the studio. It's very much seen as the game mode for the devs, and it's very much, I think, for the outside world, it's the game mode for the people in lots of ways. So DLC 1 for World at War was literally from the screaming and the shouting of the community, and from press and other individuals just saying, you gotta give us more. And we never heard anything so loud and so forceful and so verbose in terms of just wanting more. And we're like, okay, we're gonna have to put real resource behind this, rather than 2-3 guys. We're gonna put a team behind it. It was really like, okay, what does this look like now? Because you're charging someone for it as well. Now it's gonna go on a DLC. The other one was a bonus mode at the end of the campaign. This is now part of your DLC offering, which means there's a certain quality and execution standard expected from that. And so I think that's why you saw such a big jump, from what was bedroom development almost, to, okay, the machine's going to start getting behind it. There was this feeling, especially in those early days, of, okay, we need to define what this is, but we can go anywhere we want to go. But again, only finite resource. All the stuff in Der Riese was all, a twist on Nazi theory and Nazi conspiracy ideas of the hidden factory that had the bell and the flying machine, and so we just took a lot of that mythos together and started kind of weaving that. And then we started introducing the concept of, okay, well, why are the characters forgetting what they're doing every single time? And the concept of 115 and so forth started to kind of come out, which is like, does it have an effect on the mind? And then these guys have been, the test subjects, and that had already been explored in the earlier DLCs, but I really was like, okay, well, how does that work now in this kind of environment? How's that working with these teleporters? So we really started to explore the narrative further at that point. Black Ops for us was the beginning of a transition of maturity. It's probably from a studio mentality. We were really embracing that try anything mentality. The monkeys and the mad scientists, right? It was like, okay, let's try these different things, and that's what has and always hopefully will be the spirit of Zombies, which was to not kind of fear trying something that was different, and sometimes punishing to a player, because it would give us posts to tell us where to go, what to try, what to do. Transit is a very polarizing map. It really tried to experiment with this idea of a vehicle that moved you quite a distance around a map, and then different kind of tones of energy. And no matter what your kind of feelings of whether you like it or don't like it, I think it's essential. I think it's an absolute required part of where we've got to today, because a lot of those aspects were either worked, or when it didn't work as well as we wanted it to, told us the way for how to improve going forwards. The kind of key thing to kind of tuning in a zombie map is for people to blame themselves, not the game. And that's when you can tell that you actually got your zombie map right. Because we killed you. But when you hear the guy go, I made the wrong decision, I went that way, or I picked up that weapon, or, you know, when people start blaming like, oh, it's because the map's like that, or because that bad guy has too much power, that's when the problems are. Zombie map kind of balancing is more about when people blame themselves, then you're in a good place. If you jump into Shadows, I think the first thing you notice that although zombies is the predominant bad guys in the space, this world is more disturbed and broken up than just purely zombies. So there are other things in there. There are flying things, there are big monstrous things. There is a greater selection and possibilities in this map than previous zombies experiences. There's also a progression system in there, which means that the more you play it, you're given more things in terms of weapons and build kits. In other words, you can change the weapons that are actually on the walls. So I think that's one of the big changes. And the other thing I would say, if you're an intermediate guy, if you're interested in the Easter eggs and so forth, this is a map which is going to keep on giving for you. So because of just the sheer amount of time we spent making it, we could really layer in a lot more experiences. Origins is probably the top level in terms of how deep we've gone. There's other ones where we've had deeper Easter eggs, many step Easter eggs, but Origins really got a certain complexity and quality level. Shadows now beats that. So for an intermediate guy, I would say you're going to keep on getting content and reward far further into your playing experience than you previously would have. When you buy Black Ops 3, when you get that disc, we have used those 3 years. We have used all the resources at our ability to fill that disc up with as much kind of premier AAA content as we possibly can. And there's something for whatever mood you're in, right? Whether you wanted to be engaged narratively in a kind of campaign experience, whether you want to be engaged in a more kind of that sports type way, which is the kind of multiplayer, or whether you want to kind of jump in and, you know, kill the Walking Dead, right? The zombie kind of hordes. And that's part of another offering of the disc, right, which is that it's got a bit for everyone. So we're dying to see what people think of Shadows of Evil, and people will be able to get their hands on Black Ops 3 on November 6th, and PlayStation 4 players will be able to get the DLC first.
Are there any other surprises in store for players of Shadows of Evil?
Yes.
Play map packs 30 days early, only on PlayStation.
PlayStation